Welcome to the Irresistible You podcast. This is the place to get a dose of empowerment to create the life you crave and deserve. My name is Aimee with 2 E's, and I am the CEO and founder of Irresistible University. Through my podcasting courses, I teach women just like you how to ditch the body image issues, gain confidence, and lose the emotional weight to look and feel irresistible at any size. Welcome to episode 230 of the Irresistible You podcast. We have a lot to talk about today. I have some exciting news that I want to share, and I am going to go ahead and say this is going to be part of the 10 pounds, 10 times series. That is a series that I do here on my podcast where I am documenting my journey to lose 100 pounds. And the reason I call it 10 pounds, 10 times is I look at weight loss not as 100 pounds, but as losing weight 10 pounds, 10 times. It makes it just so much more doable and realistic. So let's do a little bit of updating and then we will dive into the topic for today. So for those of you that follow me on Instagram, I know you were rocking with me while I was on my conference trip in Orlando for the Touched by Type 1 Diabetes Conference. I can say this now, I go every year with my daughter who is now 7. She lives with type 1 diabetes. This was our 3rd year going to the conference together, and it's kind of become a thing for the 2 of us because it's in Orlando. We throw a couple nights at Disney in there, and we just have ourselves a good old time. And it's awesome to connect with other parents and kids and people that live with this disease and to hear about the new technologies and hear about, advances and coping mechanisms and all kinds of things. I got so much out of the conference this year. I'm going to do probably a separate episode on some takeaways as they relate to, weight and eating and things like that, because I had the pleasure of attending a session that was about eating disorders, specifically in those who live with type 1 diabetes. And girls and women with type 1 are 2.5 times more likely to develop an eating disorder than those that do not have diabetes. And so, that was something I've heard before, but it was very eye-opening, very much a confirmation of what I'm doing with my podcast and my message and my purpose, and that this is where I need to be, this is where I'm supposed to be, because not only do my children need to hear this and have this, archive of episodes available to them when they're old enough to be able to listen, but those of you that are here and tuning in, this has to be done, and I feel now it's a very strong responsibility that I have to continue doing. So I'm going to save that for another day, but we're going to talk about Wonderland, and how appropriate that I'm coming home from Orlando, leaving Disney World, and we're talking about Wonderland. So I think of Alice in Wonderland is actually in my top 3 favorite Disney movies of all time. And it's actually might be number 1. I'm not sure. It's very close. It competes with Little Mermaid. Those are my 2 most favorite Disney movies. And leading up to this trip, I had told myself I really want to be in Wonderland by the time I go to Orlando, by the time I go to Disney for the conference. And you guys that have been, following my journey, it was quite a journey because I just got down to 202 and the scale was like, I'm going to just mock you and be like, you know what? We're not going to budge for a little bit. And I am kidding you not. That week, leading up to my trip, I left on a Thursday. The day before I left, the scale was 200. It was 200.6 and then it was literally 200.0. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So literally the morning of my trip, I was leaving later that day. I get on the scale and it was at 199. And I'm like, oh my God. I actually had seen the one the night before. So the night before, I'm packing, I'm getting everything ready, and I jumped on the scale. It's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because I had stayed up super late because I had, work I wanted to catch up on so that I could go on this trip and not have to worry about deadlines. And I woke Frank up. I'm like, oh my God, I can see the 1. And it was just such a great feeling to finally see that number. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why numbers don't matter, because they truly don't. But this was a big milestone for me. This was my big, like, not my goal weight, but like not even the halfway point, but like, this is a really big milestone. And I've been wanting to achieve this for so long. And to finally be here, it's awesome. And, I started, my highest weight when I started was 270 pounds. And so I'm talking to you today at 199. And that just feels like it's hard to even comprehend that it's been 70 pounds, but it has, and it's that the thing with weight loss that's interesting is it's gradually. It's gradually, then suddenly you start to realize, like, you start to see some of those changes. But it was just a great feeling to know that I got to the goal that I wanted to get to leading up to this conference. And there's just so much I'm going to share today. I have my notes, so I hope I'm not all over the place. So first and foremost, I said conference was great. Disney was great. I'm going to do a whole nother episode like on some of those specific takeaways that I had as they relate to the content here on the podcast. But Catalina and I had the best time. We always do. It's such a great like getaway, girls trip. And, we did as much as we can and it was fun. And I've been sharing some of those reels and stories over on Instagram at Irresistible Icing and some of the things that I've learned. But, losing 100 pounds, losing 50 pounds, losing weight, period, is not easy. It's very hard. It is a journey. It feels like, I'm going to use some Disney terminology. So for my Disney people, you get it. It feels like Expedition Everest, the roller coaster, like climbing Mount Everest. That's what it feels like when you look at the scale and you look at where you want to be and you're like, I'm weighing 270 pounds. How am I ever going to get, how am I going to lose 100 pounds, right? And that's why for me, I started breaking it down into those 10-pound increments. And I encourage you to do the same. So, anybody can lose 10 pounds, right? Anybody can do that. Anyone could lose 10 pounds 10 separate times. And when you think of it that way, and you don't think of it as like 100 pounds, it's like, okay, we got through the 210s, and I was in the 210s for a while. We got through the 200s, and we are now in the 190s, and I'm owning that. Like, I am so happy to be here, but at the same time, I want to emphasize how the number isn't important. Like and I've shared this in several episodes. I'm not going to keep repeating it, but like, it was important for me to get under 200 pounds for a variety of reasons. And I think, I feel better. I look better. I can function more. There's something about being over 200 pounds that I just don't like. And that's a personal preference. Like, it just doesn't feel it just doesn't feel good to me, right? For me, this was like the baseline. Like, can I just get under 200 and then we can, not that we aren't getting to work, but like, then really like fine tune the process and it will feel more achievable. And now it does because, I still have a ways to go. And when I look at that though, and my initial goal weight, if you want to call it that, is 170. I don't know what's going to happen when I get there. I don't know if that's where I'm going to want to stay. I haven't been that small probably since high school. So I don't know what that's going to look like. I don't know what that's going to feel like. And quite frankly, I don't care what the number is. Once, as long as I can see the one, I don't care if it's 195. I don't care if it's 180, 170, 160. I don't care as long as I feel good in my skin. I feel healthy. I am healthy. I look good in my terms of looking good. It may not, I'm not society's definition of that, and I know that. But as long as I look good to myself and I feel good and I can move and get around and function, like, that's what's important to me. So from here going down, I don't necessarily care what that number is. That's not important to me. And also, I want to say that just because you get to Wonderland, it doesn't change anything. It changes a number on the scale. It changes your confidence. You're like, oh shoot, like, I got here, I made it, I had this goal and I achieved it. Like that feels really good. But nothing else changes other than the number on the scale. And I'm not saying I didn't know that because I did. I've shared that with you guys. But it's like, I just want to make sure that those of you listening that are working towards that or want to work towards that, don't have it twisted that, there's going to be some magic ceremony that happens because you see a 1 on the scale. Celebrate it, live in it, relish it, like be about it. But just know that doesn't change anything else, right? And it's probably not even going to change the way you feel about yourself and your size because you're still going to be working on seeing yourself in your larger body, even as your body's getting smaller. And, other things start to happen too. Your skin texture changes, the stretchiness of your skin, I can't say that word to save my life. So we're just going to call it that. And, now being 43, I'm seeing skin loose that I never used to see loose when I would lose weight. And that's disheartening. Like that's frustrating, but I also don't beat myself up over it. I'd rather be 199 pounds than live in a 270 pound body and the implications that come with that. That's more important. And I think you need to focus on that too. But just know that it doesn't, and even if you get to your goal weight, it doesn't solve all of those problems, right? And I've been preaching this for years about weight loss, is that there really is not a finish line. And that's where the diet culture and the diet industry has you fooled, for you to think that, oh, if I just lose this amount of weight, I'm going to cross the finish line and I'm done. And then what happens is you go back to your old habits because you never changed your habits. You never changed the way you think and feel. And it's just a recipe for disaster, right? So you've got to do the work while the scale is going down. And I definitely know that has been a big part of my journey over the last 10 plus years now. It's been a while that I started my journey in losing the emotional weight, working on the emotional weight, working on the why, working on the patterns and my behavior and my self-awareness and just all of those things, right? And you can't lose weight and keep the weight off unless you're willing to do that, unless you're willing to lose the emotional weight, because that's what got you here in the first place, right? And, it's no secret. I share with everyone because I don't gatekeep, right? I don't gatekeep like what I'm doing. And I've been taking tirzepatide, the GLP-1 injections. I take the compounded version of Zepbound, which is tirzepatide. And that has been a game changer. I'm not even going to lie about that. But what I'm also going to tell you is that taking those injections alone isn't the magic solution. It's not going to magically take the weight off if you don't learn to deal with what's going up here in your head and learn to control your emotions. So, a year ago, basically a year ago, it was like last summer, I just wasn't losing weight. I couldn't lose weight. I've always had a hard time losing weight. It's been a struggle my entire life, but something about, turning 42, being in my early 40s, I could not lose the weight. I was going to bed hungry. I was waking up hungry. I was counting all the points. I was, denying myself food that I wanted and just fight. It felt like fighting, like a constant fight and argument and just internal battle and struggle with the inner fat bitch. Y'all know I talk about that all the time, with the cravings and the urges and like wanting to eat food and actually feeling real hunger, like not just emotional hunger, but actually being hungry. And then getting on the scale every week and seeing it stayed the same or it's gone up. And that's just really frustrating when you are basically miserable. Like, I don't know how else to put it. Like, and, that was just really hard. And that's when I decided something's got to give. Let me try this out. I'm hearing really good things about it. I've never been diagnosed as insulin resistant, but I've always felt that I was, because why is it that I get on these medications and it's easier for me to lose the weight? And I am not counting points. I am not counting carbs. I am not counting calories. I am not doing any math in my head, and that has been a lifetime of rewiring my brain. Like, if you're sitting here watching on YouTube, like this, you see the calculator on my brain. Like, this is how my brain looks inside. It looks like a human calculator when I see food. I look at food and I immediately start doing calculations, because it's a lifetime of trying to unlearn that diet culture that's been embedded in us. And since I started the injections, I am not on a diet. I am not on a, even on a meal plan, if you will. I don't count any of that stuff, because it has allowed me, taking the medicine has allowed my brain to shut up. It's allowed my brain to have space. It's allowed the food noise and the food chatter to simmer down. Okay. And I'm able to feel and eat like a normal person. I have moments where I'm like, is this what it's like to be normal? Is this what it's like to not struggle with weight? Is this what it's like to not have, the food chatter in your brain all the time? Because I eat whatever I want. And let's be very clear when I say I eat what I want. I'm not going through drive-thrus 5 times a day. I'm not overdoing it because I don't want it. I don't have the cravings. I don't have yeah, I still have cravings, obviously, I'm a human. I still want certain types of food, and I have them, but I eat them in very small portions because I can't physically eat the whole thing. And so it's have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I told you, there's things like Frank and I start sharing food. We've never done that before. That's crazy. And so that has really helped me to get this weight off. And I feel better. I got to mention that too. I was waking up before I started the injections for a while, waking up and my hands and my fingers would feel numb. They would feel tingly. They would feel numb. I was waking up super swollen, super inflamed. I just didn't feel good. And I couldn't put my finger on it. I'm I don't know what this is. I just don't feel good. And all of that has gone away. So, there's a lot of different components going on with weight loss, right? And at the very basic equation of it all, you eat less, you move more, you're supposed to lose weight. That is not always the case, right? That's how it's supposed to work, but that's not always the case. So I encourage you, if you are struggling and you're suffering and you're miserable, please talk to your doctor. There's other ways out of that, and you can't just redirect all your thoughts and feelings all day long to make that change. That is a part of this puzzle. You have to do that. But if you're doing that and you're hungry and you're still hungry, there's something wrong physically in your body that you need to address, right? And so, I just want to address the weight loss shamers for a minute, because I know you're out there and I know you listen. And what do I mean by weight loss shamers? I mean the people that you hear making fun of people or being snarky about, oh, they must be on Ozempic. Oh, they must be on those injections. Oh, they're doing it the easy way. Oh, nothing about weight loss is easy. I don't care if you are taking GLP-1s. I don't care if you are taking medication. I don't care if you are having bariatric surgery. I don't care if you're doing it the old-fashioned way, calorie counting, doing Weight Watchers, whatever it is that you're doing that's allowing your body to lose the weight, none of those options are easy. None of them. The injection is not a magic cure. You don't inject yourself every week and go, oh shit, like I don't even want to eat anymore and I don't want this and I don't have to think. Like, no, there's still work that has to be done. You still have to watch your portions. You still have to eat a certain type of way, the majority of the time. Going in under the knife and having your stomach, sliced and your body sliced open is not easy by any means. Counting points is not easy. None of it is easy. So can we all just agree that we're not shaming people for doing what they got to do for their body and their life? If you don't walk in my shoes and you don't pay my bills, then you don't get a say in that. Like, you just don't. And I have no shame in my game. I don't care. I will shout it from the rooftops what I'm doing. I don't care. Because I've done it all. I have done Richard Simmons' Deal Meal. I have done Weight Watchers. I have done Special K Diet, Grapefruit Diet, Atkins, South Beach. Like, you name it, and I've done it. I've done the 6-week diet plan, which was just the dumbest thing, the most expensive, dumbest thing I ever did. And it had you eating like 8 or 10 times a day, which was just not realistic for, real life. So I have done it all. And I think this time around, it's really working well. The injections are a big part of it, obviously, but also the Irresistible You framework. And, I live my life. I don't lose weight in a bubble. I don't lose weight and go, okay, well, when I get to goal weight, I'm going to be like this, or I'm going to wait to take that trip with my daughter, or I'm going to wait to go on vacation, or I'm going to wait to like do the thing. Like, no, you're going to get me at my biggest, my medium, and, hopefully one day my smallest. Like, you're going to get it all. I'm not going to sit here and hide until I think I look socially acceptable. Like, that's just fucking stupid. So it's just wild. Like, I haven't weighed I haven't been in Wonderland since at least, it was like early 2016, right before I got pregnant with Kat. So it's been at least 8 years. It's been the entirety of my children's life, both of them, that I have been over 200 pounds. So it just feels like a relief. It feels like, okay, like literally feeling better in so many different ways. And, I still have a little ways to go, a lot of ways to go, however you want to look at it. But now I look and I'm like 30 pounds, like, okay, like that's very doable, very achievable. And it just feels good. So, do what you got to do to get yourself where you want to be. Right. And, let me just say this about going out of town, going on vacation, going to an event. I went on this trip not having, and this has been the case for like a lot of years now, but I want to just highlight this, is that I go on trips now and I don't have the anxiety. And I think you know what I'm saying. So let me describe for those of you that don't quite understand where I'm coming from. When you have a trip planned and you're like, okay, by that trip, I'm going to be in Wonderland, or I'm going to be this size, or I'm going to lose this amount of weight, and you hustle and you struggle, you like desperate diet, you hustle your way down and you still don't get there, right? The trip comes and you're like, see, I told you, you're not going to do it. You suck. Like the inner fat bitch stuff begins. And then you go on this trip absolutely miserable because you allow your size and your weight to dictate whether you're going to have a good time or not. And listen, I get it, because sometimes it's a mixture of that piece of it, like that inner fat bitch chatter, like being disappointed in yourself because you didn't get there, but then also physically not feeling good. Physically feeling huge and swollen and bloated and like you can't fit in seats the right way and you're uncomfortable and you're self-conscious. And I get all of that because I've done that so many times. And it's not enjoyable. It's not pleasurable. It's not fun. It makes you not even want to go on the trip. You don't like how you look. You don't want to take pictures. And here you are spending the money to be in this place, and you aren't like happy with yourself, right? For a number of different reasons. Or you go on the trip and you've desperate dieted so much that you are afraid of food. You're afraid to enjoy. Like, I'm a foodie. When I go out of town, or any events, like, I want to enjoy the food from that place. I'm not going to Disney World and restricting and telling myself no and saying you can't have this. Hell no. Like, whatever we want, we're getting it, and I will say, that's how you should live. Like, you're on a trip. You don't have to be insane about it. You don't have to be like gorging yourself. But if you want to enjoy certain things, then you need to be able to do that and not have that anxiety, that vacation weight gain anxiety, that when you get home, you're like, oh no, I know I overdid it. I know I'm swollen. I know I've eaten all the things. I am not getting on that scale today, honey. And then next week comes around, you're like, oh, I don't think I can get on that scale because, I just kept going. I kept going. You get home and you keep it going, right? You keep the indulging going. And you really need to get home and face the music and know where you are, not so you can obsess about the number, but so that you can be like, all right, face the music. I can be neutral about like the number on the scale, but now I know what I need to do. And I got home. I flew home on a Monday morning, and not as soon as, but that afternoon when I was home, I got on the scale and it was 202. I'm like, okay, I'll take it, right? Like, not a big deal. That was on Monday, and by Friday we were back to 199. So, and I didn't restrict a damn thing on this trip. Like, if we wanted to order something, we ordered it. And I am someone that when I go out of town, I'm trying to do it. I'm going to go hard. I'm going to go big. I'm going to get what I want, do what I want, do the upgrades, do all the things, right? One life to live, guys. And, it's great. And I will say too, I will order food. Like, we were in the parks and I would order certain food. And I couldn't finish it anyway. So it's like, and then part of me feels bad because you've got like that, I don't want to call it brainwashing, but we've been, taught to believe that we better eat everything on our plate because we're wasting money. It's like, and here's how I've started looking at that, right? Because I have thrown away a lot more food ever since I've been doing this because I can't physically finish it. And if I'm in a place like in the park, in the Disney park, I can't necessarily box that food up and take it home. It's going to be gross. So the way I've been looking at that, instead of saying I'm wasting money, I'm wasting food, is like, did the food do its job? Did the food do its job? You were hungry. You're now satisfied. You are now nourished. You're good. So you ate what you needed to eat. And if you can't finish the rest, throw it away. If you have that mentality that if you don't finish your food, there's kids starving across the world. Like, let me be very clear, guys. You shoving all the food in your face and making sure that you eat until your stomach hurts is not taking away hunger across the world. Those kids are still starving. Those kids are still emaciated. And you finishing your food or not does not solve the problem. If you want to solve the problem, start donating money to the problem. That doesn't solve the problem. Wherever that came for you, you were probably told that as a kid, like, oh, kids are starving in Africa. Kids are starving across the world. You better finish that food on your plate. Be grateful. Like, that's not going to fix their starvation problem. Yeah, there's other things you could do if you want to be an advocate and you want to solve it. Get out there and donate money. Get out there and be a part of the solution, okay? But throwing your food away, what are you going to do? Box it up and FedEx it across the world? Like, give me a break. So, come to terms with that. The food served its purpose. I am now full. I don't have a place to put this food to take it with me. I'm going to just go ahead and throw it away. It's fine. It's fine. And I know it hurts in this economy. Listen, I get it. None of us want to be throwing food away at all. But if I'm in a restaurant, like we went to, Kat and I went to Disney Springs after the conference and we went to Rainforest Cafe. And we boxed up our food because we both had leftovers, and we boxed it up. We took it to the hotel. Once we got there a little bit later, we're like watching movies and shows, and we had our leftovers. We like sat in the bed together and watched our shows and, just had that like relaxation time, and we were able to finish our food. So, that's fine. Like, do what you got to do, but don't feel guilty or bad. Like you're, shoving that food in your mouth when you're already full. What is that solving? You're just making your problem worse. You're making it worse. So don't be afraid to eat when you're out of town. Don't be afraid to try the things that you can only get when you're there, right? Don't be afraid to then get home and face the music, right? Because here's the thing. We can indulge on vacation. We can enjoy. We can't live like that 7 days a week. That's not realistic behavior. That's not, we shouldn't be doing that. Like, it shouldn't be an everyday thing. So you've got to get home, face the music, figure out where you're at, have a plan, and get back to it, right? And so, that's what I did. And, I don't allow that number because I know going into it, the number's probably up. Even when you travel, regardless of what you're eating, like even if you're eating like really, really clean or something, if you're anything like me, when you travel and you've been on airplanes and you've been walking through airports, I naturally get swollen. I retain a lot of water. I just do. I don't know why. It's a thing with me. And I know getting on the scale, no matter what I had, it's probably going to go up a little bit, and that's okay. So you've got to just do the internal work on your thoughts, the way you feel, the way you speak, because otherwise you're going to continue to have the anxiety. You're going to continue to not face the scale. And when you do face the scale, you're going to beat yourself up. You're going to say horrible things to yourself, and you're going to just continue this cycle that you're on. And it's just not worth staying on it. We have one life to live. We have a very short time. When you really think about the blip of time that we have here on the earth, it's not a lot. And time goes really fast, like really fast. And, I just want to do what I can in the moment. And, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that, but that's just, as if you listen here, that's like a big core value of mine is not waiting for the wait and doing something now before you feel ready, before you feel confident, because that's how you're going to build your confidence, right? So, yeah, I wanted to share that update with you guys. So, Aimee in Wonderland, I should have like a poster like Alice in Wonderland, but like make it me. That would be so funny. And, let's look at I just want to share this really fast before I wrap up. And going back to how it's not just about the number, right? For me, it's about what am I able to do? What am I able to do because of the weight loss? I'm able to run around with my kids. I'm able to walk 30,000 steps a day at Disney World and not feel tired. Like, I love that. Like, I love that I can just do that. If I could just figure out a way to not get blisters, like I don't get sore like in my feet or my legs. Like I can do all of that with the walking, but every single time, no matter what, and I tell you, I look like I'm going into war on my feet. I have moleskin, I have blister patches, I have chafing the chafing cream all over my feet, y'all. And every single time I go to Disney, I end up with blisters. So if you have any suggestions or things that you've done, please, if you're a runner also, like what are y'all doing to not get blisters? I am starting to think it's my shoes. I don't like wearing running shoes, tennis shoes, sneakers. I hate them. I don't like the way they feel on my feet. And I thought that mine were very comfortable. I have the Adidas like slide-in sneakers because I don't like, I know. I don't like laces. I don't like tying the I just thinking about it makes me like, ugh. And I don't like my feet like shoved in the shoe like that. I have these like I don't know if they're rubber. They're kind of like the Crocs material, I guess. And they're leopard slides, and they look like Birkenstocks. Those are the most comfortable shoes in the world. I thought about wearing those to the park on the last day, but I was like, I just have a feeling I'm going to get more blisters. But I don't know. I don't think I would have. Anyway, I am looking for solutions to that. So if you have any, let me know. But I did have less blisters this time around. I don't know if that is a combination of me just like really getting down my blister routine for Disney after the last 4 years, or could that be weight? I don't know. Like maybe so. Like the first year I went to Disney with my whole family, not my first time, but like when I took the whole family and went with some of our nieces and nephews, I had the worst blisters. Like I'm not even it's just disgusting how bad it was. And when I think back to that trip, I was 40 pounds heavier than I am today. So, I don't know. Does weight have something to do with that? I think scientifically, I would say yes, because you're not having as much pressure, like weight pressure going on your feet, but I still get blisters. So, and I've always been like that. If you have any solutions, I am all ears. I want to hear that. But takeaways from this episode is that break your goals into small, doable, achievable chunks, right? Don't think of, oh my God, I have to lose 100 pounds. I have to lose 50 pounds. Like, how can you break that down, right? For me, the 10 pounds 10 times is just fantastic. So now we're in the 190s. We're going to work on that decade. And then when we get to the 180s, we'll discuss and we'll figure out the plan from there. So also, don't wait for the weight. And when you go on the vacation, we got to stop the vacation anxiety about our size. And let me just say, and I told you like a little bit all over the place. Let me say this. Don't just tell yourself, I have to weigh 199 for this trip. No. When you know you have something coming up, whether it's a trip, a wedding, a party, whatever's coming up that you're planning for, you have to do a lot of visioning, a lot of like, okay, close your eyes and imagine yourself there. How do you want to feel? How do you want to look? How do you want to act? And saying like, okay, I want to just be there carefree, not worrying about my stomach, not worrying if I'm going to fit in the rides, not worrying about weight limits, not worrying about being embarrassed about having to leave the line if I don't fit in a ride, or having to ask for a seatbelt extender on the airplane or whatever. Think about those things and how you want to feel versus I have to be 199, because that doesn't really mean anything. Like it can be your goal, absolutely. But more importantly, like how do you want to show up on this trip? Because if you don't do that visioning and that exercise leading up to it, then you have the anxiety. Then you have I'm going to beat myself up because I didn't get to the size I wanted to be, or I'm not the weight that I wanted to be, blah, 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 blah. And then you have that same physical feeling. You feel gross. You don't feel good. You're just miserable. I've had plenty of trips like that. So thinking about how you want to feel. How do you want to show up? If you're tired of being embarrassed because you don't fit in rides, if you're tired of being embarrassed because you don't fit in the seat on the airplane, I'm going to say this with lots of love and respect and caring and understanding, then do something about it. Like, I know that's easier said than done, but at the end of the day, either do something or don't. Do it or don't. If you don't want to live like that anymore, then start working on what you got to do today so you don't have to do that anymore. It is not any way to live. Like walking around and feeling miserable and being in pain and not able to do normal things, like get on a ride with your kid, is not a way to live. And how many more times are you going to sit there and tell yourself next time, because then you'll do that to yourself. I'm never going to go on another trip and feel like this. I'm never going to do this again. And then the next trip comes around and you're bigger or the same size. Like you've got to do what you got to do to break the cycle. You literally have to take a wrench and throw it in the wheel, or that yo-yo diet, body hate shame cycle just keeps spinning. It just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning until you do something to make it stop. You have to do something to make it stop. So I think we're going to go ahead and end it there. Thank you guys for being here on my journey, for encouraging me and always leaving lovely comments and DMs and things like that. It's always appreciated. And I'm really grateful for that. And, you know, create the life you want, create the life you crave. It's up to you. It's up to you to do that. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would have what they want. Everybody would be their goal weight. Everybody would have what they want in life, right? So you got to do what you got to do. And you got to get out there and you got to start making small changes, because those small changes are going to add up to the things that, you know, get you where you want to be. So if this is helpful or you love the podcast, please leave a rating and review on your podcast app. My podcast app of choice is the Amazon Music app. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you have free access. You just have to go in the Play Store and download the Amazon Music app to your phone, and you will get access to millions of songs, albums, podcasts. And I just love it that I use it in the car. I use it on my phone. Like, all my music, all my podcasts are in the same place, and that is my absolute favorite app to use. If you are not an Amazon Prime member, which I know most people are, but if you're not, I have a free trial for you in the show notes. Go to the link, sign up. You get 30 days for free, and you can see if you like that. Amazon Prime has a plethora of benefits: shipping, the music, there's free photo storage, there's Amazon Video. Like, there's so many different benefits to being a Prime member. So I'm going to go ahead and head out. I will catch you guys in the next episode. Until then, stay irresistible. Bye, guys.